Alright. Temur Lukka. Red-green Lukka is one of the decks that you can find on my website. And the build that's up there is fairly all-in. Basically, what that build is looking to do is put Lukka into play ASAP, and then use Lukka's -2 to downtick to turn one of your creatures into Godzilla Doom Inevitable. And the more all-in build is only playing 12 1-drops and guarantees turns 1-drops into Godzilla. This build is a little bit more mid-rangey / monster / a traditional reasonable deck, as opposed to being all-in on the combo plan. So you'll note that in addition to playing Obosh the Preypiercer here for all odd things, we have 1-mana creatures and 3-mana creatures. So the way this deck is constructed, if we Lukka any of our 3-drops, we're guaranteed to get Godzilla, Doom, Inevitable here. We've also got a variety of interaction and dispute and Bonecrusher and Brazen Borrower. We've got some Uro and some Royal Scions for some card draw and some generic churn. And a bunch of different sweepers interaction on the board. Number of subs there. We had Mazria, thanks for the 2/3 of a year. JKMN, thank you for the 5 months. Wannabe Beetle, we need you to stand up straight with your hands at your sides to make sure your skirt is long enough. Oh, we didn't check daily deals yet today, did we? Everybody says. Ooh, that's a good one. Would love to pay gold for that constructed playable one. And the rest of these seem very interesting. Maybe. I might give some thought to that one. 900 gems is a lot. It's like $4 worth of gems. Alright, I think this one's pretty reasonable. I want to try and ladder up. Let's play this one. Let's play this one on the ladder, see if we regret our decisions. You've been a little disconnected from standard. How is it so far? I mean, new formats are always great, right? The question is, do they remain great when push comes to shove and the good decks settle out? And that's something that still remains to be seen. Almost forgot to check before Hoots tomorrow. Yeah, that's a good question. If you're playing in the Hoots tournament tomorrow, you probably want to make sure that your sub's not expiring today. It's a good thing to do maybe. When is there something that will define standard? I mean, Hoots is tomorrow. 256 players. Biggest standard tournament to date. Maybe? There's been some events on Magic Online. There's a chance there's been bigger standard events on Magic Online. But yeah, like there's no Grand Prix and there's no Open, so you know, it's up in the air a little bit. Are you limiting how many viewers can redeem Shillionaire? I am not. However many people want to dedicate watching that much time to the stream, they deserve it. Oh, that's true. There will be a not quite GP this weekend, but those are a little bit, like the GP thing that they're doing is a little bit different than a traditional tournament, right? Because the thing that they're doing is, it's gated by playing in their qualifier tournaments a little bit. Yeah, and there's a good chance that with our coverage, we have more viewers than them. Beverly Hills, that's where you want to be. Doo-doo. Be-doo, doo-doo, 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 doo. Yeah, my buddy Mappamonte, who commentated with me on the last one, who's done NRG commentary for a while now, will be joining me again this weekend. In fact, my one thing left on my to-do list for this evening is iron out and make sure that his microphone is functional. Yeah, he had some. We used Google Hangouts for his voice last time, and there was a good bit of distortion, and we want to avoid that this time through. Chesvek, welcome to Hooglandia. If I missed that one, I don't remember if I said it or not, so I'm saying an extra time can't hurt if I already did. Does Matt have a Twitch stream? He technically does. I don't know that it's been a while since he's been live, but yeah, Matt_Bamonte is technically a Twitch stream for him. I think I'm gonna go ahead and counter that. Just keep their throne off the table. Why not use Discord's voice channel for commentary? Because I need to try and finagle if I can run 3 instances of Discord on my computer simultaneously, because we're already utilizing 2 instances of Discord for capturing the 2 players who are sharing their screens. And someone explained Mystical Dispute main deck over hard counter spells. Mana efficiency. So as you can see here, I've now used two disputes. And like I would not have had mana to cast a hard counter in a spot like that. It's not so much a resource limitation, Jin. It's does Discord allow multiple sessions and multiple calls within the multiple sessions? For example, I have to have 2 Discord accounts to watch 2 different Discord streams at the same time. So, like, I'm not sure if I can have Matt on voice or if I'm going to need to make, like, a 3rd Discord account if I can launch a 3rd instance of Discord. There's also the issue of, like, for example, the 2 separate Discord instances I'm running now, one is a Discord portable install, and one is an actual Discord install, because where these applications save their user configuration files to matters, so you can't have overlapping user configuration files to log into multiple things. So to say the least, there's a number of technical things to sort out to make multiple Discord instances happen. Yeah, it's not just like you click the application icon 3 times and it's fine so long as you have system resources. You get frustrated with Mystical Dispute in the late game or against non-blue decks. Sure, don't go late and board them out against non-blue decks. Like, our deck's aggressive, right? So, like, trying to end the game sooner rather than later is ideal. I think I'm going to trim Royal Scions here because it can just get attacked down, and it's a blue spell that gets tagged by their disputes. What else do I want to get rid of here? I think I'm going to trim Gilded Goose. I think being a little bit slower and having a little bit more cards that are meaningfully 1-for-1 are probably fine here. In fact, it might be right to just cut all of my... Maybe I just cut all of my ramp altogether and just try and curve out naturally. It actually doesn't seem unreasonable. Play a couple of Neutralizes and a couple of Royal Scions. Let's try that, actually. So, the problem with that is, Red Peach Tea, is that's what we tried last time. And the Discord web app has, and again, just to add another complexity, I have a big technical background, Chad. I've thought of a lot of these things. The Discord web app has lower voice quality and more stability issues. So, last time, if you were here when we had the total breakdown of coverage in round 4 because things kept disconnecting, the thing we did to fix that issue was we stopped using the Discord web app, and I was able to quickly set up a second instance of the Discord desktop app to utilize. And again, if at some point Wizards of the Coast gives us an actual spectator mode, all of this will be a non-issue. I mean, like, there's a reason why no one else has put together coverage like we're trying to put together for this, right? Without an official tournament/spectator mode in the client to use easily, like what we're putting together and finagling to try and get the product that we had last week and improve on it is not trivial. It's not super straightforward from a technical perspective. If you're someone that doesn't have a good understanding of how to finagle things on the computer, you're probably going to have a hard time setting it up. For people that aren't familiar with my background, I have a master's degree in mathematics. I've contributed to a number of open source projects over the years. I have a software development background. I've done process automation for a Fortune 500 company before I started streaming full-time and teaching. That's, again, why it is a hard requirement to play in the tournament that you be able to broadcast your matches to Switch. They're a Fortune 50? I don't know. Are they Fortune 50? That makes sense, Maddie. I believe you that they're a Fortune 50 company. I think I'm putting the Triome into play here because I'm interested in being able to play 2 3-mana spells next turn. Hearthstone used to do it through screen shares, but that's not feasible to install on 250. I mean, that's what we're basically doing tomorrow, Pottergoats Gaming. All 256 players in tomorrow's tournament have agreed that they are capable of screen sharing their application. I do not teach. Streaming is more than a full-time job. My non-set release weeks, I generally work 50 hours a week. During set release weeks like this, my work time tends to push upwards into the range of like 70, 80, sometimes even 90 hours. Yeah, I'm doing all my streaming setup right now from a Windows system, O'Hammer. Which is actually a good reminder, if you're someone that plans to play in the tournament tomorrow, and you've not tested your capability of going live on Discord, I would heavily encourage you to do so. You can do it at any time. Just join any channel there. Maybe I'm supposed to Obosh here, actually, rather than just jamming Lukka. You do get to do this and smack them, but maybe this was better. The Phoenix deck feels like it has a lot of different directions that you could build it in, and there could potentially be something there. No, it definitely, my connection issue on the Linux setup definitely wasn't related to Arena. It was the whole system was dropping its internet connection. I guess I'm just passing here, huh? I have Borrower plus Neutralize now. So many zones to cast card from, right? Lots of different kinds of smoke, chat. Smoke and mirrors, smoke and mirrors. Smoke them while you got them, right? All right, and then this stomp here actually gives us the card we need to escape this. Let's scry first. Thanks. Get to dodge that one. I mean, I love my job, and I know I'm fortunate to have it, but I just like to be able to illustrate when people ask, like, all right, what does this involve? That it's like, it does involve a good deal. Don't get me wrong. Like, if I didn't like doing this, I have plenty of other skills and would do something else, but I do enjoy this for work. They don't have another Brazen Borrower here, or a first Brazen Borrower. We're in a pretty good spot. Sure, tag some favorites on the set of YouTube videos like I tag favorites for normal videos. That makes sense. It's a good idea. Oh, no. They say he's got to go, 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 Godzilla. Is this thing like a cow? It sounds like a cow. I don't know who did the Hellion horror line there, but I feel like they need to reassess. I feel like it needs to be reassessed. I think I'm fine with this trade here. They're pretty low. We'll dispute their Brazen Borrower. Excuse me? Alright, you can go to 2. Deal. Is there a way you could spin a streamer into marketable skills? You go back to non-streaming? Definitely. I also do aspects of like maintaining my stream and my content that are also very marketable. Like my WordPress website is something that I've built and maintained myself. Well, we dumpstered Flash, which is potentially good. The Flash matchup is something that felt very hard for the red-green build, and having just a bunch of interaction and reasonable magic cards tends to turn that dynamic around a good bit. Yeah, nobody who meets me in real life ever walks away from the encounter being disappointed and being like, man, Jeff's way different in real life than he is on stream, and I just really don't like who he is. In fact, if anything, I'm a lot more tame in person than I am on stream. My personality on stream is fairly big and large. I'm still a very straightforward, tell it like it is person in real life too, but, you know, a little bit less projection. One of the reasons why I have a strong voice while I stream is because it helps me keep my energy up for 8, 9, 10 hours at a time while I'm here. My everyday speaking voice is somewhere in between my projection voice here and my ASMR voice. It's right about in the middle. Stuck in the middle with you. Do. Really like to draw a blue source next turn that's untapped so that way I can go Uro plus hold up Mystic Dispute. So I think now I'm just going to go ahead and play this and then pass. Well, that's the trick, fan time. If you are projecting your voice properly, you're not utilizing your vocal cords. Voice projection comes from the diaphragm. My one real convo with Jeff was an SCG Open. I asked him if the moose he was eating was in walking distance. He said no, he drove, and I walked away. Oh, you could have had a real conversation, Beetle. Could have had a real convo. All right, Lukka. Run! It's Godzilla! To ever do theater or anything like that? Yeah, as like many nerds, I did a lot of high school theater growing up. This build feels super sweet so far. It's doing some of the powerful things the red-green Lukka deck was doing while being less all-in on them, which seems appealing. Yeah, opponent looking quite dead, I agree. Yeah, exactly, Bob. This deck is any of your 3-drops are guaranteed to be Godzilla, and because you're not giving up your higher cost creatures, you still get to play things like these adventure cards that provide utility for you.
The past is never forgotten.
Well, so chat, for people that missed it, my opponent cast Genesis Ultimatum there, and hit some randoms. But the randoms were not good enough to stop Godzilla. Oh no. They say he's got to go. Go, go, Godzilla. So we get to Brazen Borrower this, and then Trample for 7, and we kill them. So if I played Obosh there, it's worth noting that would not have been lethal, because the way Trample and double damage works is you don't get 16 points of damage to assign. You assign all of your damage, and then you double it up. So I would be forced to assign 3 to Leafkin, 1 to Druid. Oh, I would have killed them still, right? I was thinking I only had 7 total. I had 8. But I would have only dealt 8. Okay, they were both lethal. I'm wrong. They were both all roads led to lethal. I am incorrect. What are we looking to do here? I feel like with their guaranteed 5 drops, I just want the counter spells in. With full control, can you use Lukka to cast Uro? Can you activate a Planeswalker ability at instant speed? Is the question you need to ask yourself. One of the really sweet things about this build, too, is that we have, like, north of 24 creatures in most games, so Lukka's +1 can be real card advantage in this deck, which is really sweet. Let's try this. Siren, you currently have 76 timeouts with that one. Stream Decker should be working. Yeah, looks like it. I've argued with Jeff lots in my head, but usually he still wins. Listen, chat, I just need to win the arguments here because I don't get to win them in real life. Sure, Scholar, sign me up. In.
Let us see if your talents are worth cataloging. I know I noted this somewhere.
Hit Cavalier of Thorns. I guess I'm just passing. Feeling pretty dead here. Stomp is not doubled by Obosh. I see a discussion in chat going on about that. Stomp has an even converted mana cost while it is on the stack. It does double the triggered ability damage of Bonecrusher Giant, though. That is accurate. Because Bonecrusher does still have a CMC of 3.
My research has been compromised.
So let's kill this. And then I think I'm going Shockland, cast Bonecrusher Giant with the Gilded Goose. really. Okay. So that's definitely resolving. I think we're putting it on the bottom. Scholar, thank you for the very generous tip. I appreciate that. Good luck on the open tomorrow. I'm glad it's bringing the community together. Thank you for the support and keeping me around with the community. In. I think we're just going to add that deck today and still do 5-color nibs. So we're going to do Zedra Frenzy after this one in a little bit. And then we'll still wrap up on 5-color nib. They shocked in Thassa. Okay. My request for new HA3 stuff would be sweet planeswalkers that aren't Pioneer legal. My top picks would be Conspiracy Kaya, as well as Garrick Flip Garrick from Innistrad. I think Liliana the Veil's a little bit too high in terms of raw power level for my liking. But I think Innistrad Garrick would be a good one. They shocked this in, so they could have a dispute here. They just have nothing, huh? Well, that's great. Run! It's Godzilla! I am inevitable! I think Flip Garrick. And we're dead. And we're dead. The swings, chat. The swings. Agent of Treachery will not shed tears when that one goes away, chat. Actually, one thing I feel like I won't be surprised by. I bet Jeskai Winota makes a deep run tomorrow. I'm kind of expecting a number of people to register that archetype. Seems very good and powerful. The best card to be printed in Ikoria is Agent of Treachery. It's funny because it's true. That is strong. Kruger Jeskai Fires is strong. Maybe. I think it's fine. I think it doesn't, like, it's a fine deck from last season. Like, Kruger was an easy upgrade for it. I feel like the Winota deck's on, like, a different level in terms of, like, what it's doing. Do I want to stomp their face? I don't think so. Gruul Spellbreaker is really sweet in this deck, because when it has hexproof on your turn, they can't kill it in response to you Lukka-ing it, which is fantastic. I'm going to shock this in so I can deploy Brazen Borrower whilst also Mystic Disputing next turn. Will Blue-Green Genesis be on the website? I don't... If we play it again, maybe, I'm not confident enough in, like, what the details of that deck should look like to put it up there, if that makes sense. So if they dispute here, and I dispute back, and then I untap an Obosh, they die. We're a really slick tempo deck here, huh? Maybe I want more neutralizes in my 75. Neutralize with Borrower seems slick. Kog, thanks for the 9 months. I appreciate that. Welcome back. Mo just, like, did nothing and died this game. Deck that registered Agent of Treachery. Died to 3-3 with haste. Is there room for more Neutralize in here? Maybe. Maybe. No, I didn't have any saves, silly cheese. I don't spend money in raid on shards. I don't buy the loot boxes. When I give them money, I give them money for like skill books and stuff, or energy, or their battle pass, or things like that. Do I need these Legion War bosses? I just want like more counter spells. Possible you want fewer copies of Godzilla. Huh. You know what? That's actually probably a pretty reasonable suggestion, huh? Like, you're right, we're not cycling into this card. Do I need more than 2 of it? Like, we don't have that much ramp. What if I just did this? Or, like, I could even just, like, get a couple of shocks in the main deck as some reach, so that's extra interaction. I kind of don't hate that. Yeah, there's even arguments for only 1, because you can shuffle him back when you draw him. I agree with that. I think I like the idea of 2 because he, I like the idea of 2 because, he can die. Like, there's a real chance, like, they kill the first one and you want to get a second one. How many blue sources are in this deck, by the way? We've got, 5, 6, 10, 11, 15, 16. 16's probably plenty. Although, actually, how many red sources are in here? 4, 5, 6, 10, 11, 15, 17. There's actually probably too many red and not enough blue, right? But especially if I want to add more Neutralize. Like, I don't need red until 3. Yeah, I kind of like that. Let's try this before the next game. That's another question too. Uro could potentially be suspect. I think I agree with that. It's kind of nice. Like, a couple are kind of free, because, like, in the games that go along, having a way to have something to recur is kind of nice, and it's a pretty low cost overall, right? Like, it gains you life, it replaces itself. I think I like Uro. Royal Scions are sweet because they let you push extra damage through. Our deck also has an incredible number of mana sources in it, so Royal Scions help you, like, loot through Flood, which is nice. Yeah, Uro's just a good card. Like, along the line of thinking of just put good cards in your deck, Uro's worth playing in some quantity. So, Scions is also good with Uro. Yeah, so you can't just jump block the 6/6. You get to punch people. Yeah, I don't really try to make an effort to win the tournaments fixed. There's always a bigger fish. think I'm not quite in for that on turn 2. Hey, main deck Shock's looking real good, chat. Main deck Shock looking pretty good. Yeah, Sharknado is a 6. Cannot play that one, unfortunately, in here. And then next turn I can go land, stomp, plus play Bonecrusher, and then the following turn Lukka 8/8 attack. Yeah, and a deck that has a guaranteed 5-drop, being able to go 3 to 5 is pretty good. How much to cut Jeskai Snap decks into today? It's already in the queue, right, Beansy? For a $50 donation, you could cut it into today. As a heads up, my the next deck here, Zerdra Frenzy, was a cut the line as well. So if you wanted to bump Snap decks in today, it would be up after the Zedra Frenzy deck. So you can cut, but it'll be after that one. So they have Murderous Rider staring me here in the face very rudely. I think I just want to pressure them this turn. So I think I'm gonna go Spellbreaker, Haste, Borrower, bounce the Broodmoth, attack for 7. Well, you see, Grafdigger's Cage stops Lukka from working, Wargi, because it stops creatures from entering from play. Or from the graveyard, from the deck. Is a real consideration. Do you plan to Murderous Ride or something? It's looking like it. I'm gonna do this in loot and hope to hit an untapped land. It's a little unfortunate. Spellbreaker is hexproof on our turn. Run, Will. Alright, if they, am I dead on the backswing if I Godzilla and attack? So they can make this +6, so it'll be 6, 7, 8. Right? They only have 17, right? This would be 7, 8 plus 9 is 17. Run! It's Godzilla! The Jeskai Mutate lists are Snap decks, Beansy. So if you wanted to cut one of the lists already in the queue up in today, it's a $50 donation. If you want to cut a brand new list in today, it's a $100 donation. And as always, it's much cheaper than that to get your deck played on the next stream. Although, as a heads up, with the open being tomorrow, the next day I am playing deck submissions on stream will be Monday. Rare T, thanks for the brand new Prime support. I appreciate that. Welcome to Oglandia. Thanks for keeping me around. Yep, yeah, I agree. This deck seems like a real sweet Lukka deck.
My crusade isn't over yet.
So they have a ton of defense to put in front of this, and they come back because of Broodmoth. So I think I'm just like land Preypiercer pass. How far are we off of Uro? We actually could Uro. Maybe that was a consideration. Correct. Even with this, we don't kill through blocks. Because again, the way double damage and Obosh works with trample, you don't get 16 points of damage to assign. You have to assign damage and then it gets doubled. Sounds good, Beansy. Will do. I appreciate the support, as always. Alright, so now we get to do this, and then we get to play Brazen Borrower, and then depending on how this goes, if the board fully stalls, we can start Lukka-ing for some card advantage. What happens if a deck is 1 point behind another in the queue and then someone pushes the lower one with shillings? Usually as a tiebreaker, if a bunch of decks have the exact same number of points, whichever deck has had more money donated for it is the tiebreaker, if they have exactly the same number of points. Yeah, Klothys is definitely a card that this archetype can play. Wow, that's brutal. Rough. It's a very good draw.
The world, whether a courier is ready or not. If I can't use it as a weapon,
Okay.
it's useless.
Okie doke. If you look at an adventure creature can cast both halves. I don't believe so. You may cast this card. I don't believe so. We're gonna find out here in a second because I'm about to drag it into play. Depending on how they attack here, Royal Scions might let us punk them out next turn. Which someone asked why I haven't played the Royal Scions yet. Keeping the Scions hidden has value because it could get my opponent to make a medium attack. Huh? I can do either. Okay. So, with that in mind, do I just blink this and let him go to 3? I think that's the play, right?
I will not stand this betrayal.
Sure, but how does Murderous Rider change anything? Like, if I block it, that's gonna come back with the Moth. So people saying we could block it, like, it's still gonna come back regardless. They're still getting a trigger. Like, that's happening. Are they dead? Are they? So we do this. This is Godzilla. I get to Royal Scions. Obosh.
And I will inspire your heart. Strike fear into the hearts of the wicked.
I think we're dead, but I don't know. I'm gonna attack and let them figure it out. Because the Moth means all their stuff comes back, right? It's like these blocks don't really do anything. Yeah, I think we're dead. It's a real shame the way Double Strike works with Trample. It's a real shame the way Double Strike works with Trample. Moths are dying to first strike though, right? No, because I have to assign 4 damage to each moth. And then I only get to assign 2 to the second. I'm aware the Hellion has first strike. It doesn't have double strike, chat. It's double damage, it's not double strike. No, it says it's not very different from double strike. So people that don't understand why we weren't winning there, I would encourage you to go look up the magic rules on how Obosh interacts with Trample. Definitely want these flame sweeps. No, you can't. When you order creatures inside of combat, you have to assign lethal damage to each individual creature, and the damage doubling doesn't count as lethal. It's super unintuitive and does not work the way we want it to work. It is incredibly unintuitive and does not work in a way that's favorable to us. For people that are correcting me because I said the wrong thing while reading chat and people shouting things that don't work at me at the same time, pound sand. Get out of here. There's nothing that says double strike on the board. I get it. I said the wrong word. If you can't understand context clues from what's on the board, Magic's probably a bad game for you to be playing. It's going to be too hard for you. But yes, please focus on the fact that the guy doing 4 things at once said the wrong word while describing the rules you didn't understand. Thanks for the 16 months, Smith. Welcome back. So we're going to stomp this in response because Acclaimed Contender then doesn't get the counter, and Acclaimed Contender depends on there being another knight in play in order for its trigger to work here. Land is an excellent draw. Sounds good, Dwells. As a heads up, I don't know what amount you put with it, but for the short term, it is a $25 minimum for subs to submit arena decks because my queue is very backed up with all the hype around the new set. Did Legacy have good games of Magic? I think it's probably a stretch to describe anything. It's a stretch to describe anything that the deck that we played this morning does as good games of Magic, but we definitely played games of Magic, and we won some of them. I had fun. They were definitely entertaining. I don't think it's possible for that archetype to generate good games of Magic, though. Yes, Preypiercer does double up Flame Sweep, which is great. No, you can't. All the good nuts. It's literally what we're sitting here talking about, is the fact that what you're asking doesn't work. You have to assign lethal damage, and then that damage gets doubled. So you have to assign 4 points of damage to the first moth, and then you get 1 point to assign to the second moth. So one moth will die, and the second one will have 2 points marked on it. Flame Sweep does, unfortunately, kill Obosh as well. I'm going to give you a 10-minute timeout to read the cards so you can figure out why that's not true. Yeah, Atheist. I'm interested to see what people iterate on with that deck, because that one's got a really sweet core. Well, you know. You know. Opponent's black-white deck seems sweet. I like the opponent's use of the Moth as a top end for their aggro deck, as opposed to trying to enable some kind of aristocrat-y style stuff with it. The Moth and the Aristocrat decks felt pretty lackluster because the individual cards in the Aristocrats deck were kind of weak, but just playing a bunch of Knights and beating people down seems pretty slick. They were also playing Dire Tactics there, which has been one of the more impressive removal spells for me in this set. Really liked that card in the other decks that we played it in. I mean, to set an incredibly low bar, D-Sprag, streaming on Twitch pays me more than adjuncting at various colleges ever did. And for people that aren't familiar at that rate, there were some schools that I taught at where the pay for an entire semester was $1,200 to teach one class. That was the entire semester for a 16-week class. You got $1,200. And then if you want to know something even more than that, I got paid more to teach a lot of classes than people teaching non-math classes. They paid the math people slightly more. How many hours? Usually that was for between 3 and 4 contact hours per week. hoping never to find out. Like, does the fact that I've done this as a job limit my ability to work a traditional job again after? I'd prefer to just, like, do this for another, you know, 15, 20 years and call it a day. But we'll see. Who knows? You know, who knows what the future holds? What does a post-pandemic society look like? Well, in a place that feels incredibly familiar, so long as my opponent doesn't have Embercleave, we're in an okay spot here. Thanks for the 16 months, Prof. Dr. Mr. P. Welcome back. So yeah, so the core rules knowledge thing that most people don't know that makes people not understand double damage and assigning combat damage is that you are not allowed, when someone multi-blocks your creature, you must assign lethal damage to every blocker before you assign any damage to the next blocker. That's the key part of combat and blocking with multiple things that a lot of people don't understand. So you can't assign non-lethal amounts of damage to a bunch of different creatures that are blocking you. You can, however, over-assign damage to the first one. So you can put more damage than something has toughness on one singleton blocker. You order the blockers, and then you have to go through the list in order, essentially. This is actually a great draw, because it insulates us against an Embercleave. And I have blue mana thanks to Gilded Goose. Look, check the end of the video, Voltic. I outlined what spells I wanted to play, but didn't do the mana base. Can we check the wrap-up segment? Royal Scions slowly filling the bin for Uro here. Yes, with Death Touch, one singleton point of damage is considered lethal, so you can assign 1 damage per blocker. That is correct. All right, chat. We're heading to Cleveland next turn. On Arena, you cannot... There is a setting that you can toggle to allow you to choose how you assign damage to each blocker. By default, it is off, but it is available. It does exist. Oh, no. They say he's got to go. Go, go, Godzilla. Is it crazy to bin Lukka so I can have double Borrower next turn? Because they're like 1,000% about to attack me, right? Like, if I get to double Borrower, I probably just savage them, right? I think binning Lukka is correct. Yes, yeah, exactly. Borrower lets us bounce Torbran and whatever they intend to cleave. I'm glad you enjoyed it, Zach. King of the Cosmos is one of my top 3 cards from the new set, and so is Baby Godzilla. Just like anything. They're like, now their wheels are turning. They're trying to figure out, like, okay, why on God's green earth did they bin Lukka? Like, what is in their hand that they've binned Lukka? What are the trap cards they have available? I mean, I kind of feel like even if they have this turn face up and they know what we have, they don't really have good plays. So I'm gonna bounce Torbrand here because I don't want to take 3 from the Scorchbitter trigger. And now they also don't get to draw a card with that. So blocks, I get to go. So they do have castle here as well, worth noting. So that's something I want to factor into my blocks. This is gonna get bigger. These blocks are not super straightforward. So I want to make sure Obosh lives, I think. We'll chump block here. We'll go this, eat this, this, eat this. Actually, we'll go this, eat this, this trade here. And then we'll take 4 down over here. That seems pretty good. Hey, Wiley Candy. Thanks for the brand new tier 1 sub. I appreciate that. Welcome to Glandia. If you're having a good one wherever you're at. And now this works out perfectly because now I get to Borrower bounce the Annex, which means none of their things that die make tokens. And then they're dead on the backswing, right? Because these each do 8.
Maneuver into position.
The old 10 ball you with my Royal Scions. This is a sweet turn. Binning the Lukka was definitely correct. Really showing some of the power of the flexibility this deck has in not being all in on the Lukka downtick. The red-green deck is sweet, but like this build feels pretty real. Like in terms of what we have going on here. Kinda into it. I think this deck, and from a pure power level perspective, this seems a lot better than the straight red-green deck that's just trying to be cheeky. So Brontodons and Shocks are easy ins. It's probably a Flame Sweep matchup, huh? Probably a Flame Sweep matchup. And then what are my cuts? Is it crazy to pivot? Is it crazy to pivot off the Lukkas and the Godzillas? What if I get rid of some of them? Do I want to get rid of all of them? Yeah, Scions just get attacked down. What if I cut a land on the draw? What do we think of this? I'm cutting 2 5s. I'm at 27 lands to start anyways. I'm on the draw. I think I like this. This seems good. And like boarding down to just a single Lukka or single Godzilla's fine, because if we draw it, we can cycle it. I think Borrower's the cut here. Why cut the fixing and not the basic? Basic lands are busted against the aggro deck, is why. Lands that don't hurt you are great. That was unnecessary to time out Crackster there. Can we... Oh, mono red. Oh, mono red. Well, poop. We can draw Flame Sweep here, right? I got 3 Flame Sweeps. So, like, if I draw a Flame Sweep, we're at 5? I mean, that's why you play mono red, right? You play mono red because sometimes you get to do this. We have a companion we can't possibly lose, right? That's what Reddit told me. Are you telling me Reddit would lie to me, chat? Twitter too, yep. Alright, if this is a blank and this is a blank, we're not dead on board. Dead to any red spell here. That one's a mulligan, and as always, you mulligan the close 6 into the unkeepable, close 7 into the unkeepable 6. Looking for green lands. That's actually a very good draw. This is basically a 2-for-1. Maybe I'm supposed to keep the Lukka instead of the third shock, because my way to get back into the game after mulliganing so much is high rolling with it. Hitting, rolling up into the thing. Any interesting decks in the last 3 hours? This one's been great. Yeah, and like, and this is why the red decks are so tough to play against. Because, like, your games just range so drastically, right? Like, if I'm playing against my opponent's hand from last game, my hand's just absurd. But this game, they just, like, have Annex and other bigger stuff, and my hand just, like, really doesn't do anything. And I'm spending 2 resources to kill their one thing in a game where I mulligan to 5. Frustrating match of Magic. And again, Magic's incredibly high variance rate. Like, 2 games in a row where just had, like, absolutely no control over the outcome. That's just how it goes. Don't let your laddering, try not to let your laddering impact your mental well-being. Even when you're playing good decks and you're playing well, there's a very realistic chance you make little or no progress on the ladder while trying to climb up. Remember, things like Magic tournaments and the ladder are designed to create singular winners and lots of losers. The key to doing well on things like the ladder is volume. Lots and lots of games is key. Hey, look at that! Someone in chat that wanted to tell me I was wrong without telling me why I was wrong. Feel free to take a 10-minute break and think about it. Good games, Griffin. What would you suggest white or black decks do against the Rakdos decks? Yeah, Cry of the Canarium's the best black card against the Lurrus decks for sure. Did I miss making a food last turn? No, I played a tapped land. My turn 2 land. I know you don't do best of 1, but if the general idea is to have more games, from a pure numbers perspective, is it better to play best of 1 than best of 3? I think when your number of games go on towards infinite, players probably have similar numbers in best of 1 and best of 3 if they're good. However, numbers don't go on towards infinite, and in reality, where the rest of us live, I would be very surprised if good players have better win rates in best of 1 compared to best of 3 over small sample sizes. Best of 3 gives you more chances to mitigate that variance. Like, we just got done talking about Magic having a lot of games where you just lose and it's outside of your control. Well, in best of 3, if you have one game in a match where you lose and it's outside of your control, that doesn't actually impact your ranking at all, right? You have to get pretty exceptionally lucky and have multiple games inside of a set like that. Oh, you're playing the black-white deck? I think Hushbringer's a good call, because you can sacrifice it when it's no longer good for you. Really hoping to draw an untapped land here. I'm gonna eat a food, because I only have 2 geese in my deck, so the food's likely not gonna count for mana anytime soon. Yes, that's a good example. In best of 3, if you go 2-1 in games, you get 2 notches. In best of 1, you don't get any notches for doing that. Is accurate. Don't Conquer's Death me, bro. Don't Fires into just Kenrith, sure. Sure, but like you gotta pick and choose, Quincy. Like you just talked about the other card that inhibits you as well, so like they all hurt you in some way. Does the rank count match wins or game wins? It counts matches. So if you go going 2-1 and going 2-0 in a best of 3 match is the same in terms of ladder points. Whereas going 2-1 is different than going 2-0 in best of 1 games. In best of 1, every game win moves you up 1 point, and every game loss moves you down 1 point. In best of 3, you move up 2 or down 2 for match wins or match losses. And again, like, at the end of the day, from a strictly optimizing perspective, I'd be really surprised if either of them were much better or much worse than the others in the grand scheme of things. You should just play whichever one's more convenient or more fun for you. I don't understand what deck you're playing then, Quiltsy, which is again why I tend to not give card recommendations on stream, because it's hard to like give there's a lot of nuance in Magic the Gathering choices. It's not as straightforward as simply saying you should always do this or never do that. So, this giant... Are both of these from Lukka? Both of these are over here from Lukka, right? So I'm going to shock this in. I'm going to play the giant. I'm going to play the Brazen Borrower. And then I think I'm going to go ahead. Borrower was adventured. Okay, I'm wrong. You're right. Borrower was adventured. How could I tell? Was there a way for me to tell? Probably had to right-click on them. Probably had to right-click on them. All right, who's turning into Godzilla? I think it's the 4-3. There was text on the giant. Okay. Yeah, at a glance, I missed it. I'm gonna kill their Narset here.
I will miss you, friend.
I think there's a difference in quality opponents in MTGO versus MTGA. In my opinion, the only people who think there's a difference in skill level between players on Arena and MTGO are people who are self-serving and want to fillet themselves with the idea that whatever platform they're currently playing on has superior opponent quality. The only reason to imply that is to be elitist and make yourself feel better while putting other people down. I would actually argue if there is a potential for skill differences between MTG Arena and MTGO, that if there's a difference, and that's a big if, that the higher skill level is probably in the mythic part of the Magic Arena ladder, because any idiot can buy a Magic deck on Magic Online and spew $10 joining a league. Whereas on Magic Arena, you can't just be any idiot and get to Mythic, right? Maybe you have to dedicate some amount of time. There's some amount of effort required. You can't just show up, put your dollars in, and go. The entrance fee is higher to get to Mythic. You don't know you've gotten to Mythic and you're kind of bad. Guess what? Most Magic players are kind of bad. Average, think of the average Magic player, half of them are worse than that. Magic's a very complicated game with a lot of things going on. No, what Croaky said was different, Percy. Croaky said that he felt the ladder was comparable to making deep runs in large Magic tournaments, and that's something I fundamentally disagree with and don't think is true. I think there's a big difference between doing well in 14-round, 15-round, 16-round Grand Prix tournaments and just playing random ladder matches, because similar to the ladder in some ways, as you get deeper into tournaments like that, your opponent quality does go up because they had to do well to get to those points later in those tournaments. There is a big difference between a tournament setting and just paying an entry fee and playing a small short event. I think I want to just Uro plus Spellbreaker here. Yeah, my understanding, I'm not super familiar with Croaky's background, but I believe he said he hasn't played much Paper Magic. I know he didn't do well in the Invitational Championship he got an invite to, and I don't think, has he top-8'd any of the Channel Fireball events? I actually think, and this is why I think the Channel Fireball events are great for people being able to prove themselves, like, the Channel Fireball events are a great way for people like Croaky's and new players to Magic to prove their ability that they have tournament level play without leaving their home and without having to commit to go to a Grand Prix in Paper, right? Like, that's not something that was really possible until recently without these tournaments. But, like, with those, it's very easy to say, okay, I'm a top-level player. Well, show up and put your money where your mouth is and play. I think playing digital Magic is a great blessing for the average player because in Paper, they otherwise probably make a lot of rules mistakes. I think the biggest advantage digital Magic has for the average player is the volume of games that you get to play. That, in my opinion, is the greatest advantage. The normal person does not get to play nearly as much Magic in Paper as you would in digitally. I think I'm just doing this. I'm going to 17. I could die on the backswing, though. It's tough. Like, the Kenrith activation here is just so brutal, right? Because, like, they get to gain 10. And, like, I'm not forcing them to block here. So I'm going to 17, and then I have 3 toughness to block with. So I'm effectively at 20, but they already have 14 power in play. I think I'm just supposed to pass here, unfortunately. in my opinion, I would assume that many people who played, that's a cheeky swamp. In my opinion, I think the current pool of players who have largely proven themselves playing Paper Magic is very shallow, most likely, because competitive Paper Magic is incredibly gatekept. Competitive Paper Magic has a huge barrier to entry for everybody that does not have an incredible amount of privilege. Magic, paper, like, Arena's not cheap, and having a computer to play Arena's not cheap, and Paper Magic is astronomically more expensive than Arena. Arena strips away the barriers of having to have paper decks, having to physically be able to shuffle cards and go to a tournament hall all day, having the finances to, in addition to owning a paper deck, be able to afford to play that tournament all day and all weekend. Like, there are almost assuredly a lot of great Magic players out there who have never had a chance to prove themselves because of all those circumstances. We're super dead here. They're just gonna gain way too much life for us. There is infinite space for more accessible high-level tournaments in Magic Arena. In fact, you could make the argument, actually, I don't even think you make the argument, I think it's objectively true. The Hoaglandia Open Series that we're making the effort to run here on this channel is the most accessible open Magic events that have happened on Arena to date. The fact that the entry fee is just like, even the Channel Fireball thing I don't think comes close because it has a $25 entry fee to play in. Like, if you have Prime, you're into my tournament for free. Like, it's easily, yes, it's $25 per qualifier for the Channel Fireball events. It is not cheap. And, like, I'm glad they're doing it. And, like, and that's the thing, too, right? Like, $25 per entrant like that is more accessible than Paper Magic Grand Prix. That's how inaccessible Paper Magic Grand Prix are. So, yeah, I think, and actually, we talked about this the other day. I'm really glad that things like E-League exist, like on Wednesday nights. But could you imagine if instead of Wizards of the Coast put up $4,000 a week in prizes or whatever it is to like 4 or 5 Magic players, they instead, why isn't there a $5,000 tournament every single weekend on Magic Arena that has no prerequisites to join and it's just like some small trivial amount of entry fee? Like, why? I don't understand, as Wizards has pushed towards this esports thing, why they've made the tournaments less accessible to real players, and they've pushed it up and up and up into the 1%. Bernie Sanders would not be happy with the direction they've taken their Magic tournaments in, chat. We must tax the peak tournament Magic players and redistribute the winnings to the rest of the players. June Tsunami, thanks for the brand new Prime support. I appreciate that. Welcome, welcome. My Bernie Sanders impersonation needs some work, chat. It's no good. It's no good. I'm a long way from being a late night host. Long way. I think I'm making this a 4-4. Making it a 4-4 sucks against Teferi, but it's better against Clarion, so it's like 6 in one hand, half dozen in the other. Legion Warboss, sure. Sure, Prey waits, but that's how everything is with Arena, right? I agree that some small format tournaments where you know basically all the players in them is good. overall, but having every tournament be structured in that way, I think doesn't make a lot of sense and is a net negative. So there needs to be some type of balance, in my opinion, that isn't currently present in the Magic esports scene. It feels like, I think Paper Magic actually had one of the most accessible esports setups that out of any game anywhere, and it feels like they swung too far in the other direction. Like, I feel like once upon a time they had done a really good job, and then they decided to like just full stop, go run the other way. Go ahead and cycle this here, I think. Alright, what am I doing? Are you just like making an 8-8 and smacking them? How do you feel about making an 8-8 and smacking them? I kind of like it. I think I'm into it.
If you will not see things my way.
Hey, that's awesome to hear, Tsunami. It's good to have you here. Thanks for the support. And that in a way too is why like I want the tournaments that we're gonna run here to be a little bit more community focused, why we're taking the prize pool and flattening it out, etc. It's a good thing I brought my backup Godzilla. Run! It's backup Godzilla! Yeah, I think I could see even wanting 3 potentially in the 75, but I think 4 of this is incorrect. We only have 2 at the moment. I could see there being a world where playing a 3rd is correct. It's so great. Zach, I am so ready for every other Magic crossover. I just like inject the crossovers right into my veins. Unlike Lysol, which, contrary to what our president said yesterday, you should not be injecting into your veins. Godzilla's good to inject into your veins. Lysol, not so much. Don't do it, Chad. Don't do it. All right. They brought in Legion War bosses. If they're on Legion War bosses, do I want shocks? I think the answer is yes. I think I'm just going to cut the Grazers and board in shocks. We need a vehicle set with a Transformers crossover. Big int. Hasbro owns the Transformers IP. It's only natural. It's only natural. WotC does not make the Pokemon TCG. There is a dedicated Transformers card game, which I play with my 4-year-old on occasion. You know, it's funny. Okay, so this is to strap my liability hat on for a moment, chat. When I played the Transformers game for the first time, my first thought was, oh, this game's really slick. It would translate really well into a digital client. Who makes this? And I looked and saw Wizards made, and I was like, oh, nope, never gonna happen. Got it. Hello, wife.
Hi.
How are the monsters today?
I mean, you defined them.
Oh, I played the wrong land. I love you anyways.
It's not my fault you're dumb.
I'm gonna blame you. It's her fault, chat. You all saw it. What? Do you know why I'm wearing these shorts? Do you want to know why I'm wearing these shorts?
Well, I saw chat commenting on them earlier, and I don't know why they were commenting on them.
The reason why I'm wearing these shirts is because you were still in bed this morning, and I didn't want to go in your room and risk waking you up when I got pants this morning. Because I love you.
That was nice of you. But those are the ones I was wearing yesterday.
They are the ones you were wearing yesterday. They were on the floor in the hallway.
Stop telling chat that I'm a slob. I was looking for them.
Are you all the same size at least? To be fair, in Christy's current state, we are pretty close to the same size. They're actually my shorts.
No, we're like an 80-pound difference though.
Yeah, but
my waist.
Your waist is similar to mine. You are much lighter than me still, but your waist is similar to mine.
Yeah, they're his shorts. I just don't wear the clothes on my side of the closet anymore. This is your t-shirt.
It is my t-shirt. You're not wrong. And
I wear your socks too.
So you're saying we can just get rid of your clothes?
Your socks are cozy. Yeah, Jeff is I don't know the word for it, but he's very particular about his jeans.
I like my stretchy jeans. Listen, chat. If you are someone who's happily fat and married, and you have not discovered stretchy jeans with spandex in them, let me tell you about a life-changing experience. Let me tell you about things you've been doing incorrectly. Feels dead man. Feels dead man. Perfect draw. Perfect draw. The disinfectant clip is amazing. I try. Sometimes I am a method actor. This deck. So What?
Did you win?
Of course we didn't.
Then it sucks.
And it sucks. Wow, she's so mean. All things considered, I like this build a lot better than the red-green Lukka build that we've played. The configuration of being able to be incredibly interactive allowed us to take the flash matchup from being unwinnable to, I think, honestly, being borderline good. I don't know that you can make the fires matchups good for decks like this. Like, I think you can steal games and obviously occasionally entire matches, but just like what we're trying to accomplish and what the fires decks are trying to accomplish tend to be very similar. And their deck just goes bigger than our deck does and does their big thing a little bit more consistently. And the efficient interaction that we're looking to play that makes us possibly a little bit better than them in some other matchups just doesn't line up well into them. Like Shocks and Bonecrusher Giants are okay against Legion War bosses, but like when Cavaliers and Krugas and Sphinxes hit play, there's just not a whole lot we can do about it with our red removal. So I think this archetype seems very reasonable in the non-fires matchups, but if I was expecting to play against a lot of Jeskai fires, it's definitely be one I'd shy away from. And honestly, I don't know if that makes the deck unplayable, because I kind of feel like that's my description for a lot of decks in this format. The fires deck is probably one of the things to beat right now. It'll be interesting to see what happens in both the Hoglandia Open tomorrow and the Channel Fireball event this weekend. All right, what are we doing?
Why does this one get like a special orange thing around?
Because he's the companion. You always get him in your opening hand.
Oh, like a Hex Champion?
It's a card though, instead of an ability.
What are we playing next?
What are we playing next? We had a Cut the Line for Zedra Frenzy, which unfortunately means I don't have it in my deck editor here to tease for you all. But when we get back, we are going to try and mono-red people a little bit with a little bit of a spicy companion. We'll be back here in just a few minutes. Thanks for hanging out today, folks. Don't go anywhere.
I mean, everybody